Let the energy of this place continue to foster your creativity long after you leave. This place heals people. It's a safe space to reinforce and refill your creative well. Breathe in. Breathe out. It's okay if you didn't write 100 pages this week. You took a step in the right direction, and that's more steps than you took last week. You have clarity, you have new questions, you have new ideas. Anything new is a good thing. It means you're getting closer. I wanted to be a writer, and I always tell the story how I was 4 years old, and I realized if I put my different letters together, I would form a word. So I tried it, and the first word I ever spelled on my own was nose. And I literally was like, oh my God. And I ran into the kitchen, and I was like, Mom, look, so I'm thinking I'm a Pulitzer Prize-winning author. And she was just like, okay. And I was like, oh, this woman knows nothing. But that was like the moment. But for me, it was a little difficult because, of course, I'm the daughter of an immigrant household. So my family wanted me to be a doctor, a lawyer, anything that made money. Writers don't make money, quote unquote. And so it was sort of hard to convince them that this is my dream. So there was a lot of settling, a lot of compromising, a lot of putting my dream away into a suitcase in the back of my head. When I was 15, I wrote my first novel in Earth Science class because I hated the class so much. So of course I wrote it by hand. But because of that, I filled up about 8 notebooks because I did double space because I'm that neurotic, and damaged nerves in my wrist, which is why my signature looks the way it does today. My parents bought me a computer after that because they were like, okay, we'll concede to something. Then for my 16th birthday, I asked for a program called Final Draft and wrote my first script. That is not usually what you ask for your 16th birthday. You usually ask for a car. I'm a weirdo. It's okay. It was about 200 pages of nonsense, but it got me on my way. I was 20 when I wrote my second novel. I thought immediately it was going to be a bestseller. I started planning my launch party, subsequent tour, gave it to a friend, and she hated it. And for good reason, it sucked. And like I said, I was afraid of being a writer. So I didn't get my BA or MFA in writing. I actually am a film school nerd, through and through. I am your worst enemy to watch TV with. And even going to film school was actually a huge negotiation with my parents, and it worked out in my favor. Fast forward years later, I wrote a romance novel, a new adult romance novel. I loved it. No one else in publishing did. I did in fact find an agent after dozens and dozens of rejections, but that agent liked to take vacations. Month-long vacations. Vacations where apparently her internet didn't work either. After a year and change, we broke up and I decided to self-publish under a pen name. Then around 2012, I broke up with my then boyfriend, and while suffering from insomnia, eating, chocolate and roaming the internet on cosmopolitan.com, as you do, I came across a story about a 9-year-old girl who was convicted of murder. I said, wonder what her life is going to be like. That case, that particular article, literally sparked an idea which all rolled into sparking a novel, my first novel, Allegedly. It took about a month to finish it, and when my critique partner actually read it, she said it was the best thing I'd ever written, which, it'd been a while, and I was kind of like, well, girl, So I started to query a commercial women's fiction novel. I thought surely this will sell. It has mystery, it has darkness, it has a little romance. Rejection, 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 revisions, rejection, more revisions, full ass 6 months later, rejection. I did little things to keep my spirit up. I read craft novels, read about the universe with the church, meditated, wrote affirmations all over my apartment, worked on my vision board. But by the beginning of year 2 of querying, and after another rejection, I decided to quit. I had been trying to get traditionally published for about 5 years at this point. And I just assumed that, I took this last rejection as maybe it's just not in the cards for me. Maybe this is a sign. So I wrote a quick email to my mentor, Tahari Jones, and basically said, yeah, this novel thing ain't for me, I'm gonna quit, bye. She wrote back a 2-word email, call me. So now I'm like, oh, now I gotta explain my voice, why I wanna quit. I just can't passively aggressively quit like the punk that I am. So I call her and she says, what's up? And I tell her how I keep trying, but all this rejection is too much for me. I'm turning 30, I'm never gonna get published, my life is over, the regular meltdown. And she says, which she was in the middle of writing her most recent novel, American Marriage, so her mind was sort of like, girl. She said, what is your book about again? And I tell her the premise, and she says the words that will eventually change my life forever. She says, it sounds like you wrote a young adult novel. And I said, what's that? I legit had no clue what she was talking about. I've heard of children's books, but young adult, that was something that was sort of foreign to me. So I was kind of like, huh? And just for a little background, I was a child that went from reading R.L. Stine's Fear Street straight to Stephen King. There was no in between. I skipped everything. In fact, even if I saw a book, I was kind of like, I don't know what that is. That must be for like the little younger kids. I'm out here reading Mary Higgins Clark. So she told me to hire a development editor, make it YA, and query again. When I got the phone, I was sort of stunned. I was actually still working at the time, so I was standing in the middle of the studio I was working at. And then I was like, I'll be right back. I grabbed my bag, took a train to the nearest Barnes & Nobles, went to the YN section, and sat there for 3 hours combing through books, reading acknowledgments, writing down all the editors and agents. I realized that I was so stuck in my adult world and my adult thinking and determined to be there that I was completely blinded to the YA world, never realizing that every novel I wrote, every practice novel I wrote, even the adult ones, were actually answers to my younger self. After that, for about 4 months, I went harder than I ever did. I was still working in TV at the time, so I would wake up every day at 5 a.m. I would then go write until I was able to go to work at 10 a.m. And my typical work day was about a 13-hour day. So then I was also in the studio, kind of like writing on my phone or on the side, or hoping that nothing would catch on fire, so I would actually be able to get through maybe 2 pages. I hired a development editor, which was huge because at the time I was working paycheck to paycheck. So that meant I had to sacrifice cable, part of my rent, any type of entertainment, hair appointments, girl. And most food, so I was basically a diet of ramen noodle, and all of the expensive dog food for my then dog child Oscar, who just passed away this past August. My friends and family called me crazy. After working with the editor, who said, quote, it was one of the best novels she ever read, she doesn't know why I hired her, I was like, I needed that assurance, but thank you. I had a solid draft and a query letter, so I compiled a list of 100 agents I wanted to work with, organized them in an Excel document by tier, and said, if I get through this list of 100 agents and I don't find one, I'm going to move on to the next project. Within a month, I had made it through agent 20, and I had 4 offers. 5 months later, after my novel's 15th revision, I went on submission, and within a week, I had a 2-book preempt offer from HarperCollins. Everyone breathe in, breathe out. That was my journey. It may not seem like much, or it may seem like a lot, but some journeys are harder than mine, some journeys are easier. But that was my race. The bumps and bruises made me the person I am today. Breathe in. Breathe out. I know what it's like to be in your shoes, to be at the precipice of a breakthrough, so close you can taste it. So I want to leave you with a few words of wisdom and encouragement that helped me over the last few years, especially during those days where, Oscar didn't have his proper food and I was basically surviving on ramen noodle. 1. Rejection is merely redirection in the right direction. I'm going to say that one more time. Rejection is merely redirection in the right direction. I'm not going to lie to you, rejection can sting. And that's why we have to start changing the conversation we have with ourselves. Are we being rejected, or are we being given another chance to find the perfect home for my novel? Does this novel suck, or is this novel helping to strengthen my writing chops for the next novel that's eventually going to get me where I want to go? Redirection looks different on everybody. It could mean another agent, another genre, another tense, a whole other book. Choose to use rejection as an opportunity for reflection. Number 2, be prepared for the physical and emotional pains that come from building your own lane. Writing is a lonely, exhausting sport. It's one of the most vulnerable professions in this world. It takes an extraordinary amount of courage to attempt it. You being here today is an act of bravery. Say this out loud. I am brave. I am brave. Hell yeah, you are. To counter the heartaches of your journey, find things that bring you joy. Invent something that I like to call a joy toolkit. Write down 3 things that make you happy instantly. For me, one of them is Bob Marley. Anytime I turn it on, it instantly reminds me of Jamaica, it reminds me of my childhood, it reminds me of home. Number 3, it's never too late. So every year I do this conference called the Writer's Digest Conference that happens in New York during the summer, and I usually do the, getting ready to do the pitch slam and everything like that, and I open up like the floodgates, or quote unquote the hell gates, to any questions. And it's always that one person, man or woman, who's like, I'm 65 years old. Isn't it too late for me to be a writer? It's never too late to be a writer, period. Laura Ingalls Wilder was in her 60s when she published Little House on the Prairie. Toni Morrison was, I think, 41 when she published The Bluest Eye. The Bluest Eye, goddammit, it's a masterpiece. Time is a double-edged sword, but masterpieces take time. Don't be afraid to go at your own pace. Don't ever be afraid to start over as many times as you need to. The only name on the cover of your novel, your picture book, whatever you're doing, is yours. Not your editor, not your agent, not the copy editor, not the grandma that took you to school. Nobody but yours. And if you can't stand proudly in the light with your work, then it's not ready for the light. I thought at 30 the end was near, when actually at 30 I was just beginning. Number 4, celebrate every single victory. You finished the outline, celebrate. You finished a draft, celebrate. You got a full request from the agent, celebrate. Someone read your book and liked it, celebrate. You finished summer camp, celebrate. Be grateful for the small victories in life, because life is created in the small moments. Number 5, and I've actually said this to my mentees, learn to write in the rain. The rain can be your own mix of tears with chaos of everyday life, job loss, love loss, or a busted computer. These are just speed bumps, not roadblocks. Don't let the bumps in your life stop you. Give yourself space to feel your feelings, but then put a time limit on that. Learn how to persevere no matter the cost. This is your dream, your baby. Fight like hell for it. Fight until your nails are bloody. Number 6, when you build in silence, people don't know what to attack. There will be people who won't understand your dream. They could be your friends, your partner, your family, your dog. Create healthy boundaries with those people that are determined to shit on your dreams. How you achieve your dreams is no one's business but yours. People aren't going to like the new you. When you walk away from this camp, you have a new attitude. You're like, hey, I'm about to finish this project. I'm about to be a published author. I don't have time for your nonsense. Bye. I like that. What I always find is people are quick to criticize something they couldn't even conceive of doing themselves. I think Brene Brown said it best, and I'm going to butcher this quote. If you're not in the arena getting your ass kicked every day, I am not interested in your feedback. That is a very solid quote. I've never seen her in person. Brene Brown is like a really great motivational speaker and a researcher, and she actually has a doc on Netflix. Yes. But I remember, I've read her work before, and even before I saw this doc, and she also has TED Talks. I remember hearing that and being like, yes, that's exactly what it is. Like, how dare you try to criticize me when you're not doing anything else in your life? I mean, they could be doing something, I'm just saying. Which brings me to my next point. Number 7, some bridges must be burned, and let the bridges you burn light your way. Some people are going to have to get cut. And as I like to say, I take remarkable selfies in the bridges I burned, lighting my ways to my dreams. I wipe tears of laughter away with my royalty statements. When I think of my ex-boyfriend I cried over that led me to my award-winning novels. When it comes to your dreams, give yourself permission to be a savage and cut people out of your life that doesn't believe in you. Number 8, don't be afraid to make people uncomfortable. Now, if you know anything about me or my books, you know they are not cute and cuddly. They are raw, they are cold, they are triggering, they make your skin crawl. To give you a quick gist, my first book, Allegedly, is about a girl convicted of murdering a 3-month-old baby. And to make the story realistic, I interviewed 5 girls who had been through the juvenile justice system and included all of their stories in the book, including one where a girl was sexually assaulted in her jail cell by a CO. See, I'm a little uncomfortable. But I find uncomfortable books are I find comfortable books easily forgettable. But a book that makes you sweat or cry, a book that elicits a visceral emotion, those are the books I like to write. And I'm not sorry for it. Because at the end of the day, I'm honoring the victims, I'm making my books memorable, and I'm putting kids in the shoes of someone who are not like them. I'm building empathy muscles, I'm building tolerance muscles. And yes, I'm making kids cry, but they will never forget me. And that is my most important journey. If you have your own thing, stick to it. Don't let other people's uncomfortability or them not feeling comfortable with you derail you. When people criticize me, I say, "Oh, you mad? Okay, do something about the circumstances I'm writing about. Don't try to do something about my books." And then we fight. Number 9, never ever give up. Notice in my story I said, if I get to 100 agents, I'm going to move on to the next project, but I didn't say quit. That's incredibly important. Sometimes it's not about quitting, it's just about diverting, going to the next project. Like I said, I thought I was going to be a romance new adult author, and I was like, yes, I'm going to, be on all those romance television shows. My book is going to be like a Lifetime movie. That is like my dream. But that didn't happen. But just because the original dream I had didn't work out the way that I thought it was going to, doesn't mean that the dream I'm living right now isn't just as beautiful. My dream also never allowed me to quit. It sit like reeking in the crevices of my mind until I actually answered it. I'm writing for kids, but I'm not writing for adults. But I love writing for kids. And honestly, adults are just larger little humans. I mean, I always say, and I hate saying this to kids, I was like, high school honestly never ends. We're just like, in a long, extended, 5th year. Number 10, never ever stop learning. Each month, read a book outside of your genre. So if you are a fantasy writer, make sure that you read poetry, make sure you read contemporary, make sure that you read picture books. Listen to podcasts, attend conferences, spend time with your audience. If you want to write for kids, when's the last time you actually spent time with kids that are not your kids? I think that's incredibly important. Just because you're a parent doesn't mean it makes you an expert in every kid and every crevice of this entire world. Make sure you actually know what you're talking about as well, too. Do the research, become a method author. You want to write about living in New York City? Go to New York City. If you want to write about living in the country, go to the country, or you can just come to highlights. Number 11, and this is important because I feel like Allison has brought this up a couple of times. Stop apologizing for taking up space. You are blooming, you are stretching, you are coming out of your shell, you are worthy, you are enough. There is nothing to be sorry for. Stop apologizing for being you. Every time you walk up to a podium, don't say, I'm sorry, I'm new to this, blah, blah, blah. No, we're here for that. Instead, be gentle with yourself. The greatest love story you'll ever be a part of is love between you and yourself. And when you love yourself, respect yourself, the creativity truly flows there. You'll be amazed how the words are going to start pouring out of you after this week. I promise you. Number 12, my final thought. Run your own race. Now, look to your left. And look to your right. Each of you are running in your own lane in the publishing track, on the publishing track. On the track, there will be a lot of people that will speed past you, some will lag behind. There will be big trashy books with 6-figure deals, and there will be glorious books with 4-figure deals. There will be tours, and there will be silence. But one thing must be clear. You are not in competition with the people to the left and right of you. In fact, there is no finish line in this race. It is a never-ending marathon of your choosing. What worked for one person isn't going to necessarily work for you. Don't trip up worrying about what is happening in lane 7. Take your time, stay focused, keep your head down, eyes on your own paper, keep writing. You want a career as an author. You don't want to be a person who wrote a book. There is a difference. The only limits in your career are the ones you impose on yourself. Everyone, breathe in, breathe out. Look to your left, look to your right. Remind yourself of this moment. Remind yourself of the energy in this place, because energy is contagious and infectious. Remember to always surround yourself with people who dream big, who see the glass half full, who see the magic in the mundane. Those are your people. Shift your negative self-talk. Don't say, I want to be a writer. Say, I am a writer. Say this with me. I am a writer.
I am a writer.
I am an author.
I am an author.
I am a force.
I am a force.
Yes, okay. You are not stuck. Your brain is not broken. You do not suck. You are a moment of stillness. You are a season of clarity. You are walking into your best season yet. You can do anything. I am so damn proud of y'all. Thank you so much for trusting us, your mentors, along your journey. I cannot wait to see your words on the page, and I cannot wait to see your books on the shelf. Thank you.
The Highlights Foundation. For more information about Highlights Foundation workshops, visit our website at www.highlightsfoundation.org or call Joe Lloyd toll-free at 877-288-3410.